Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Open Agenda, a podcast created to help connect residents with their local government and give a behind-the-scenes look at how things actually work here in Queen Anne's County. I'm Bruce Grove from Queen Anne's County Television.
And I'm Beth Molaski, Public Information Manager for Queen Anne's County. Through this podcast, we hope to help residents better understand how county government operates, introduce you to the people doing the work, and talk about the issues that affect our community.
Sometimes government communication can feel a little formal or distant. But the goal of today's Open Agenda is to make those conversations more accessible and give people a clear picture of what's happening behind the scenes.
And today's topic is a really important one: how government communicates during public safety situations and why that communication plays such a big role in building trust with the community.
We're joined today by two guests who know the world very well. Both have experience working as public information officers with the Sheriff's Office and helping share important information with the public during everything from day-to-day updates to emergency situations.
One of our guests currently serves in that role, and our other guest previously served as the Sheriff's Office Public Information Officer and now works as a Public Information Officer for the state of Maryland while continuing to call Queen Anne's County home.
That gives us a really interesting perspective for today's conversation, looking at public safety communications from inside the government and also from the viewpoint of a resident receiving that information.
So we're going to talk about what a public information officer actually does, how information gets shared during emergencies, what changes when you move from local to state communications, and what it's like to experience county messaging from the other side.
And hopefully, by the end of the conversation, you'll have a better understanding of how these communications work and why they're such an important part of keeping the community informed.
So let's jump in and get started. We consider this episode open.
Lights on, mic check. What's happening with QAC next? Go behind the scenes with Bruce and Beth. The conversation shaping the county's future. This is the Open Agenda.
We're joined by two of our favorite public information officers. First, I have Lauren Moses.
Hi.
Lauren, we got to work together a long time ago. Your first job was here at the county as the Queen Anne's County Sheriff's PIO, and it was when I just started here, so we got to interact then. But you've since moved on. You're now working for the state. You're the Department of Agriculture. You're their PIO. Lauren, what's been going on in life?
As you said, we did work together, and my home will always be Queen Anne's County. But I did take a job with the state, and now I am actually the PIO for the Maryland Department of Agriculture. Still similar things. Working on the social media, working on graphics, acting as the liaison between the public as well as our department, as well as media outlets in our department. So it's just a different field now because it's more agriculture-based versus police-based, but it's still making sure I get the information out to the right person at the right time.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank
It's been
you.
a long time since we got to see each other. It was nice
It's
to
good
catch
to
up.
see you.
Yeah, we used to have so much fun, so now we get to have a little bit more fun. And
Why
maybe we'll
not?
bring you back a couple more times.
I would not mind that.
Yeah. And next to you, we have Caitlin Briselli, who is now the PIO for the sheriff here in Queen Anne's County. Caitlin, this was your first big job outside of college.
Yes.
You got to go to college. You got to do this. You also studied film,
Yes.
which is awesome. So we have that connection. And you're a pretty mean TCG player, I've heard.
Yes,
and
I
I've
am.
seen.
Yes, you have.
Tell us a little bit more.
So again, I'm Caitlin. I originally started in media production. I did my undergraduate degrees at Salisbury University in linguistics and media production. Got into news production down in Wycomico County. And then for grad school, I went up to Baltimore for my master's degree in filmmaking. And I love all things communications. I love storytelling and really connecting with my audience. And I came across this job and I fell in love with it, and it's just a new way to connect with people in a way that serves the public.
Yeah. And I know if you're listening, you know who me and Beth are, but Beth obviously is the PIO for the county. I just act as like a information person. So we knew when Beth and I first started talking about doing these shows that this was the episode we were the most excited to do because you guys have been through what we've been through.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about some stories today. We're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty of what a PIO is and what they really do. And, I mean, people think this is just this easy job. And I think today we're going to break that down and show them it might not be as easy as they think. What do you think, Beth?
Yeah, and I think the first thing, just to even start that out, what does your day-to-day look like? Because I know for me, I really get tired of people calling me the Facebook girl. because there's so much more that goes into it than posting on Facebook. So I don't know which one of you want to start, but what does your day look like, Caitlin?
So my day does start with Facebook. In fact,
I am in the Facebook group.
yes, but no. So my day usually starts at home when I wake up. I'm unfortunately one of those people that I'm like, just gotta get on right away. And I'm looking through our page. The sheriff's office is involved in a lot of really local community pages. Ken Island Happening, some of you may be familiar with, may have left a post or two yourselves there. Going through that, looking at any concerns community members like to post in these groups, and even like the neighborhood groups. We've had somebody driving by last night. So that's just stuff that I take note of. When I get to the office, the first thing I do there is looking at the duty report from the night before. So the duty report essentially just gives a list of different cases or incidents that took place the night before. That can be arrests, mental health calls that we responded to, any sort of major police response that occurred in the shift prior. From there, I'm going to start pulling things out. For arrests, that means, taking note of case numbers, and then I'm going into our system, reading all of those reports from every deputy that responded to the scene, so I can start writing something up for that. The process for that, it then goes to either the patrol lieutenant or to our major of operations to review. Goes through a whole long review process just to confirm that all of the charges are what they are, all of the information is correct, and then we're getting that ready to put out on social media. At the same time, when it's formatted, we then have to reformat it for a press release, because the way that we post it online is definitely different than the way it would go out to our media partners. From there, my day can go any sort of way. Truly, as we all
Lauren's
know.
like, I remember.
Yes.
I'm having flashbacks.
Yes. People turning in tips, people with concerns, people reporting crimes via Facebook. I know one time I was driving down the road, and I'll admit I peeked at my phone. I try not to, And
Sheriff's not watching us. Actually, Sheriff probably is watching.
I believe there's a theft occurring at this store at the outlets right now. Well, I immediately hit the brakes and pull over on the side of the road to call in and say, hey, you guys might want to head out there and check that out. So really, you never know what's going to be in that comment section that I'm monitoring or in the messages that we're receiving.
You must be getting that non-stop, right? How many actually comment that instance? Was it actually someone stealing?
It was not, actually.
Yeah.
We had patrol go out and, we talked to the store manager. They're like, we have no idea what they're talking about right now. But we appreciate people
because you don't
turning
know.
things in, definitely.
Right.
But, it can come at all hours of the day. My day doesn't stop just because I go home. I joke that this is a 24/7 job.
Absolutely.
And
we've talked to each other many times on weekends, holidays, nighttime.
Hey, happy holidays. But there's also this thing going on right now.
Yeah, Beth and I were just talking. We don't know when you're listening to this, but while we're recording this, there's a big snowstorm coming, and Beth's like, "Oh, that's my weekend."
Yep.
Yes. I know. I was preparing for this weekend. I'm like, okay, I've got, our canned goods. I've got the power packs charged, and I have my laptop for work nice and charged up and ready to go for if something happens. So you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
The rest of my day, again, it can go any sort of way. We have events that we go out to. The sheriff's office participates in hundreds of events a year. So could be out at schools, could be out at some other event.
Yeah, you could be reading a book at Sweet Frog. You never know.
Reading a book at Sweet Frog, the singing a Christmas carol. That was a new one for me this last year. So the sheriff's like, come on out. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great.
But obviously your favorite thing is probably coming to the Queens County TV studio.
Obviously, yes, and recording.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Recording our Most Wanted.
Yes.
I don't know again when you're watching this, but Valentine's Day Most Wanted is coming up, and we've got a good one.
Oh, I know he's excited.
Yes,
always.
Yes, but other than that, that's part of the excitement of this job, and I would say also the stress of this job. You never know what you're going to get, and you never know what you're going to get.
Absolutely.
So it really just depends.
Yeah. What about you, Lauren?
So kind of to echo what Caitlin is saying, you never know what you're going to get. It's definitely different going from policing to agriculture. And sometimes when people think of agriculture, they think farms. But what they don't understand is our department has so many aspects to it. We have a weights and measurements unit, which actually measures scales in grocery stores and gas stations to make sure you're getting what you paid for. A lot of people see. A lot of people didn't know that. See, a lot of people don't know that. And so when I did accept that job, one thing I wanted to do was kind of bridge the knowledge. So for those who may not be familiar with agriculture, I want to make sure I'm teaching them, hey, we do this. We go out and do this. Also, as you all may be familiar with, avian influenza, bird flu, right? And so we make sure we send those messages out. So when people think of agriculture, they think, oh, it may not be as busy. Absolutely not. So when you're in that season of avian influenza, you have to make sure that you're talking about biosecurity and what farmers can do to make sure that their flock is safe and to make sure that people aren't getting sick. Then in the summer you have, or actually spring, you have the spotted lanternfly. And so you have to also make sure you're putting out messaging out, hey, make sure you squish this. And then people are like, well, I don't want to. They're so beautiful. They're so sweet. But again, it's harming the trees. It's harming our ecosystem. So I want to say my day-to-day depends. Definitely making sure I'm getting the messages out to the public. Whatever I want to convey, maybe our secretary, Kevin Addix, did something pretty awesome. He read for a day of agriculture, and we want to make sure we are promoting that because people may not know. And because I'm working with the state, something may take place in the Eastern Shore, I need to make sure the Western Shore knows about it. So I make sure I monitor our social media. That's our Facebook, our Instagram. I want to make sure I know what people are talking about, what's the temperature like when it comes to the Department of Agriculture. Is there something that happened that they're upset about? Is there something that they want to know? I actually act as if I don't work there because I want to think, if I never knew anything about Maryland agriculture, what is something I would want to know? So I try to take our social media that way. I'm also making sure I'm issuing press releases. I get, as you know, we get a lot of media requests. So I'm making sure I'm responding to those inquiries. I'm making sure that I'm updating our social media page. As you know, the snowstorm is coming up. And I tried to think, what is something that I can use or what information can I convey that has something to do with the snowstorm but is about our community? And what I did was I put out a press release as well as a graphic of this is how you can make sure your farm is safe. Make sure you're checking your barn roofs. Make sure that your equipment is sturdy. Make sure your flock is protected. The cows are protected.
I'll make sure to share that.
Absolutely. Yes, because people may not know this or they may need reinforcement. So every day is different. Also, I get the blessing of traveling throughout the state of Maryland to different farms and talking to different farmers.
I've seen you at some farms.
You did see me when we were in Queen Anne's County. And it was beautiful. And I get to visit flower farms. I get to visit different agricultural sites. And I get to meet different people because people are not aware that agriculture and farmers are the backbone of Maryland. And they are why we have food. They are why we have flowers. And so it's just amazing to be able to talk with them. So my day can consist of several things, and I apologize. It can get really lengthy because as a PIO, your day can get really lengthy. There's sometimes you work 7 days a week, and some days you work 5 days a week, but I love it. And as you can see, I'm still here. So
I don't want to take away from anything you just said, but I need to circle back.
Yes.
To the weighing machines in a grocery store.
Yes.
Do they try to get crooked on you? Like, are people like, is it a problem?
Well, fortunately, we have inspectors that go throughout the state of Maryland to different grocery stores and try to ensure that they are accurate. And we also encourage consumers, if you see something that may be a mistake or maybe you got an inaccurate count, make sure you contact us and we can make sure that store is in compliance. So we do it to protect the store so they're not charging over or under, and we do it to protect the consumer so they're not spending more or spending less.
Man,
and
you really are taking care from farm to table, aren't you?
We are. And that was something I did not know until I got there. And I made sure to produce videos. That's something also we do as public information officers, is that sometimes we have to be the videographer, the photographer. And so I made a video to kind of convey to people, this is something awesome we do to actually protect you.
Yeah, it's very cool. What do you think, Beth? Because you have a perspective here too that I don't, but
I mean, one of the things that really attracted communications to me from the beginning was the fact that I could not make up my mind what topic I liked the best about local government. I liked all of it. As nerdy as that sounds, I like all of it, and I couldn't pick one. And with communications, we get to be involved in everything. And the research part, like you were touched on, we have to know about everything before we put it out. Like, I can't just take something that one of our departments sends me and just put it out to the public. I need to really research it and understand everything, fact check everything, because if someone has a question, I need to be able to respond intelligently and to know about the topic. But to me, that's exciting because we get to learn about everything.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I mean, our day to day, you never know what's going to happen.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. And what do you think was the difference from going from the sheriff's office to the state? Biggest difference that you saw?
I think the biggest difference is when you are working with state, there are a lot of partners you have to consider. Like you said, we have to make sure we get information out and it has to be accurate. But I can't just submit information based off my department. It may be information I have to run by the Maryland Department of Health or a different allied agency, because we have to all make sure we have the same message. Because if I send out a message and then this department sends out a message, then the confusion is created and then the public is mad. When I was at the sheriff's office, there were times I would have to talk with allied agencies, but typically there was, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was more standalone cases where I would need to run the information by the sheriff or by the deputy sheriff, and then I can put that information out. Also, I would say the audience. When I was working at the sheriff's department, it was the Queen Anne's County audience.
Yes.
And I made sure I tailored my message to Queen Anne's County. Maybe I would say something and mention something awesome about Kent Island.
Yeah.
But when you're at a state level, you can't show favoritism to any particular place.
No,
you have to make
absolutely
sure.
not.
Gosh, no.
Absolutely.
Eastern Shore, Western Shore rivalry.
Yes, yes. You don't want to play part of that. You want to give the children equal attention. So I would say that was definitely the biggest difference. And also, when you are working at the state level, you are also working with the governor's office. So you have to make sure that the information that you're giving is in correlation with what they want to put out. So that's pretty much it.
So your approval process, does the governor have to approve everything?
Not everything, but there are certain things that it's understandable. They want to make sure, what if he gets a question? That's a press release we sent out. He want to make sure that he is knowledgeable about the topic. So typically they lay eyes on it, and then we will submit the press release. There's sometimes he may want to add a quote. There's sometimes his governor's office may think, hey, this is pretty cool. Let's do this. So it's more of a collaboration, if anything, and within the approval process.
Yeah, the state agencies I worked for, that's one thing I found is that you have a lot more layers. Than we do at the county level, and so it's a lot longer of an approval process. And I think that's something else that the public probably doesn't realize that I want to touch on. That's definitely something that Caitlin can connect with, is how long it takes us sometimes to put things out, and the public gets frustrated with us. Why haven't you answered our question? Why haven't you put out this publicly? Because we heard it on the scanner, we heard another community group talking about it, and it's the approval process. What does your approval process look like?
So it really depends on how large the incident is that's going on. If it's something small, say a general arrest for, let's say, a DUI, that's a much smaller approval process. I have one, possibly two other people placing their eyes on it, and then it goes out. Versus a major incident, say, involving a school. Well, then we're bringing in the schools into this approval process as a partner. Or for, a large criminal case, it's our office, other agencies that were involved in this case. The state's attorney's office is involved. How much information we can actually reveal or share legally can definitely hinder us at times with what is able to be put out. And, the goal is always to put something out fast, but it always has to be accurate. If you're putting out information that's incorrect, the public loses the trust in you, and they can't rely on you, and that's how misinformation can be spread.
Is there an approval process with how you interact with people on social media? Because if I can, you are going wild and having some fun with your social media and the way you respond to people in the public.
No.
Nice. Can we talk about your latest one?
Absolutely. You're more than welcome to.
So if you don't know, a post went out about a Pokemon thief.
Yes.
And there was a theft at a local store. The person was identified as stealing Pokemon. And man, you had a ball with the responses you were giving people.
I have Pokemon knowledge. And I think that's I even joked in one of the comments. I responded with like a photo of a Squirtle, which is a Pokemon for someone that wouldn't know. And I jokingly said, me realizing I get paid to be funny. Getting to say things like that. It's one more way to connect with our community members. Some people might see it as, oh, they're not taking this seriously. I take it very seriously, but I'm also a person, and I think that's easy for people to forget sometimes that, we're real people behind the screen responding to you. We work in this community. We live in this community too. And this is just one more way to build trust. I ran into some people at a store this week, and they're like, oh, did you hear about that post on Facebook? And I was like, yeah, I'm the one that put it up. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if we could pull the curtain back, I ran into you at a store.
Yes.
And my
the
daughter,
same store.
This is true, and you won't believe that
Honestly.
it's true. It's 100% true. My daughter, we were in a Pokemon store. We were in a card store, and my daughter was looking at Caitlin's post, laughing about it. Caitlin walks up to us, says hi.
Yep.
I had no idea you were there.
I was there playing a different card game that night.
Yeah, but it's just so. But to your point, my daughter never ever would have interacted with any government post, and now she knows. Oh, the sheriff's there. Oh, there could be a way for me to get communication. It's not boring, or get communication that I can enjoy.
Absolutely.
It's a way to break down barriers between a lot of different, sections of the community.
Absolutely. And it can be very far-reaching. I think, we get the insights and data on these different posts. The last time I looked at that post, it reached over 1 million people. Wow. It had over 1 million views on it, which, as a government agency or anybody with, a Facebook profile that is trying to reach people, you're like, yes, this is exactly what I want. Yeah. And I can see that, the breakdown of even whether this is followers or non-followers who are seeing this stuff. And a large percentage was actually non-followers. That's more people that we're reaching out to, potentially connecting with. It's not just the people that live here in Queen Anne's County. It's people traveling through Queen Anne's County. How many visitors do we have that pass through every year that could potentially interact with our agency at some point? People traveling to Ocean City, people that commute for work. We want to connect with them too. And so it's really exciting when that, happens successfully.
Yeah. Do you have the same kind of ability to be fun? Do you take advantage?
Absolutely. So I love that I have the free reign to do that. I am a pun person, and I like dad jokes.
Okay.
So I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I do like to incorporate humor when there is need to be humor. I think the last thing I remember is for Valentine's Day, I found a picture. I don't know how I found this, but it was a pig giving another pig a kiss on the cheek. And I thought that was so adorable, and people loved it. And it's funny because we actually have cow statues right outside of our building, and I decorate them for every single holiday.
That's awesome.
That's great.
It's so awesome. For President's Day, I think I gave one a beard, so he can be Abraham Lincoln, and I gave him a tall hat, and then the other one I gave him like little 2 patches of hair so he can be George Washington, and people loved it. So we have it humanizes the department because people look at government departments and they think we're strict and we don't have emotion, but it's kind of to show them, hey, we're part of the community too.
Yeah. I know we talk about that all the time, Beth. It's just, it's always a fine line of getting the serious word out. Yep. And I know us at Queen Anne's County Television, we try to put a little bit of humorous spins in some of the videos we make, but you're also trying not to make fun.
Yep. Right.
So it's always a fine line that we all have to walk.
And you have to know your audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to know if your audience, will they tolerate that type of humor, if they're more strict. And once you kind of build that relationship with your audience, you are able to loosen up the strings a little bit.
Yeah. I struggle with that. I'm definitely the more serious one, and I struggle with loosening up a little bit.
That's why we're here.
I know. I depend on Bruce. Bruce helps me lighten up a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. So I do have to ask you, and you can be totally honest, do you follow our updates now that you don't work for the county? Because you are still a resident.
Absolutely, and because I'm a resident. And I also follow the Sheriff's Office page, because not only because I'm a resident, because I resonated with that page, and also I want to see the updates. I want to see how you're doing, and you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And yes, I still get the alerts. I'm too lazy to unfollow anyone.
Valid.
So once I'm a follower of yours, I'm a follower for life. You don't have to ever worry about me going anywhere.
That's absolutely good. And so the other thing that I think we kind of touched on a little bit was just time management. How do you separate work from your home life? Just seeing people in the store. I see people at the store at a party getting my hair done, and they're asking me about work-related stuff. On holidays, weekends, I'm getting the notifications on my phone. Are you able to separate it? Are you able to carve out time for just the family and turn it off? How does that work for you?
It's very difficult. I will definitely say that. And it's also a balancing act, to be sure. I think maybe a little bit of a difference is that with law enforcement, it could be an actual emergency. I can't, I see somebody reporting a crime in our messages. I can't go, well, I'll wait until Monday to deal with that, So it can definitely be hard to manage that, but I try to create boundaries for myself, just like anybody else with their jobs. I try not to check it, my phone too much, but
yeah.
I do have a work phone that I take home, and, if things come in, and I just tend to handle that. But just trying to still carve out that time. I say, okay, I'm going to leave my work phone at home while, we go out for lunch today. I still have my personal cell phone, so if they really need to get me, they can. But that way I'm not looking at random comments that aren't relevant or aren't,
That's hard.
Urgent.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard.
I mean, I think that people don't realize, I've told people this before, that because I get a lot of negative comments on some of
Yes.
the posts that I put out for the government, and I'm the one that's getting the notifications.
Yes.
There's not a whole team of people. The commissioners aren't getting these notifications. None of the directors are. It's me. So I'm sitting at home eating dinner with my family, or I'm at an event at school with my son, and I'm the one getting notified. And then I am checking these notifications, and I'm seeing the really
Hate messages.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like death by a thousand
Cuts.
Yeah. It's you can kind of brush it off to a point, but after a while, it does get to you.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the same?
Yes. One thing I preach as a PIO: self-care and boundaries.
Yeah.
Because it can be hard. And I've worked at several positions where I didn't like the Facebook messages, or I didn't like the comments. Sometimes they would be personal.
Yeah.
And that's the time where I have to step away, take a break. Sometimes I will ask a colleague, hey, can you monitor this for me for a second? And as far as our job, we get burnt out relatively quickly. So that's where the self-care comes in. That's when if this is urgent, I would deal with it urgently. If it's something that I can take just 5 minutes for, just to breathe, do some breathing exercises, put my feet on the floor, anything I can do to just ground myself, I will do it. And that's when you have to also speak up for yourself and tell whoever your superior is, hey, I need a second. Just a breather or anything like that. And the next thing is you have to talk to your family and friends. They have to know, hey, this is a position that's very heavy. Sometimes I'm not going to be able to be fully present. There may be some events I miss. And that's just one of the, I don't want to say a downside, but I can't think of a better word, but that's part of the job, is that you're going to be preoccupied.
Yes.
And you're not going to be able to give your full attention. But the days you do give your full attention, it's wonderful. But for some reason, I would never trade this job for the world, because it has the rewarding parts. But as long as you keep your boundaries, your self-care, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I think for anyone listening, this is a good time to tell you, don't yell at us.
Please don't.
Yeah, we don't control what's going out. We do the best to tell the stories, but they will talk to us or respond or send you guys messages.
Or call.
Yep.
But they'll be very mean, and you're not being mean to the right person.
Yes.
And one thing that helped me was not taking it personally.
Yes.
Because I think of if I lived in a neighborhood and I knew something bad was happening and no one's telling me what's happening. I don't know if I'm in danger. I don't know what's going on. I'm panicking. And one thing they do teach us in PIO school is to at least put something out.
Yeah, holding a statement.
Yep. There's a threat, or there's no threat, or this area is safe, or we're working on it. When people know you're working on it, it gives them some type of relief than just complete silence.
Right.
So that's something we will do. We will put some type of buffer just to keep you holding steady until we get more information. But I try not to take it personally because I put myself in their shoes. They're just
Yeah.
scared. That's what it is. It's fear that's driving them. And then once you kind of calm that fear, things are a little smooth sailing, at least for an hour.
Yes, for a few minutes at least, maybe.
You bought some time.
Absolutely.
And I've even told people, that can be escalated at points, typically on the phone. I don't think I'm the person that you're actually angry at or the person you're actually upset with right now. I'm happy to hear you out. I do care about what you're saying. And a lot of times, if you say that to somebody, they don't believe you. Oh, you're just saying that, and so I'll stop. It's not that. It's not that. I would like for you to stop, but stop yelling maybe. But we do care about how our community members feel and what they're going through. And sometimes it's hard practicing patience, and we recognize that. And that's part of why building trust with your community is so important. If we say that, something has happened and we're investigating it, but there's no threat currently, you can trust us when we say that, because we've proven time and time again before to be true to our word.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about trust, and this is for all three of you. Like, we all make mistakes. How do you go about maintaining that trust when misinformation went out from you? Or maybe just a mistake, or something was reported wrong? Like, how do you maintain that trust and get back on track?
So for me, I corrected immediately. I am human. I have found if you ever try to bypass a mistake, don't admit fault, that creates distrust.
Yep.
And that's when people start trusting, because as we know, when incidents happen, there may be someone else saying different information. And guess what? Their information is right and you're wrong. Now, how do you clean that up? Instead of that person saying, well, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. I'm just going to listen to this person.
Yep.
So that's when you immediately take corrective action, and then you just move on, and then you put out the right information. But one of the things, if you are an aspiring PIO, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is don't lie. Don't lie and don't cover up, because it's going to come back on you tenfold.
I mean, I totally back that up. And I've worked through several administrations at this point in local government, and that's the advice I've given, because they do come to us for advice when it's something that's going out to the public, because we're the subject matter experts as far as communicating. And that's what I've always told every single one of my bosses that I've worked for, is that if we've put something out we did make a mistake, we need to let people know.
Absolutely.
And just own up to it and admit it and be transparent about it.
And it's a quick email, just correction, and then you send the correct information.
Yeah.
Yep.
And usually people don't take it to, unless it's a very serious matter.
Right.
But even if you do come back and just say, just quick correction,
Yep.
people typically don't take fault with that. They understand.
Yep.
As long as you're getting the information out timely.
Right.
And that's why we go back to just put something out.
Yep.
Because the worst thing you can do is trying to be so fast and getting so paranoid because you're getting an influx of questions that you put out wrong information. It's better to be a little bit delayed than wrong.
That's good. I had to ask, because it's been 8 years I've been here, and I haven't made a mistake yet.
Congratulations.
So I just want to know when
I
it does
hope that day
happen.
never comes.
So I am the queen of typos. I will tell you that. I absolutely. And there has been some very important messages I've put out where I had a huge typo in the graphic, in the text, in the press release, and I own up to it. I think a few times I've responded, well, at least you know it's not a AI.
AI.
That's,
And I don't
that's
think
doing
people
this.
understand when we look at a press release and we write it, we draft it, we look at it so long, it looks like what we want it to say.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that have looked at it. I mean, that's what I've told several people because they really come down hard on us sometimes.
Yeah.
And I make a lot of typos, but
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you have any idea how many people have looked at this before it actually went to you?
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate you pointing out the typo, and then I
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah, I got to admit, I have made mistakes.
Bruce,
I'm sorry, I lied. I did exactly what you told me not to do.
you're not covering it up though.
Yeah, I'm not covering. Yeah, I'm letting
You're
it go
taking
now.
corrective
Yeah,
action.
I can't tell you how many videos we put out, and they'll be out for like 6 months, and someone's like, you spelled that wrong. I'm like, like, oh, it's been on TV for 6 months. So we talk about misinformation. Let's talk about when real information gets tough. How do you tell the hard stories, the emotional stories? I mean, when you're at the office of the sheriff and when you're with the sheriff now, you get some really bad stories you don't want to share. And I'm sure when you're talking about aviation flu or deaths or anything because, how do you report on that? And how do you take your emotions out to clock in?
It can definitely be hard. Kind of going back to what you said, it can be hard not to internalize other people's emotions.
Yeah.
Part of my job in this, law enforcement PIO aspect is that every day I hear about the most traumatic, the most painful, the worst things happening to our community members. And it's not hard to feel empathy, but it's hard to not internalize those feelings of grief. I'm saddened to hear that these things have happened to these people, and these are the circumstances that they're going through. And it can be really tough to translate that into a press release. Mm-hmm. That also goes to the fact that not everything that's a fact is something that the community needs to know. I think that there's this sort of perspective that if we're not telling the community 100% of the information, that we're somehow withholding from them, or we're covering something up, or we're not being transparent. This is going to be a really controversial hot take right here, okay? You do not deserve to know everything that's going on. And I know it's jarring. And I used to be the same way too, as just, a normal person in the community. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on with this investigation or this thing. And we're not talking about like a major incident happening in real time. If something crazy happened, that's different. But, the criminal aspect of these larger cases, you don't need to know everything that's happening. And silence doesn't mean that work isn't going on. That came up for us a lot in this last year with a certain case. And it's hard not to internalize those feelings when you're hearing from community members, you're not doing anything, you're not doing enough, or you don't care about us. So it can be hard at times to see these really painful and, difficult things.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say one out of all of my jobs as a PIO, one of the tougher ones was when I was the PIO for the Maryland Natural Resources Police. And it was because every summer, boating season, and I hate saying this, but it was almost certain we were going to have some amount of fatalities. And every time summer would come around, I would just feel this emptiness because I knew I was going to report on somebody's family member.
Yeah.
And we will get the call, we found a boat, but we can't find a person. Or we will get a call that someone is overdue. And you're putting information out there, so you're typing it, and you have to make sure the families, you have several audiences. You have people in the department that's searching for this person. You have the rest of the department. You have this person's family, this person's friends, other boaters, communities. So you have to think about every single audience member that's looking at this post, which is already a lot of pressure. And then you have to make sure that the message is tasteful. But sometimes as government, we can sound very strict and stoic. So you have to make sure you have some empathy, but you have to keep a level of professionalism with it. So I'm thinking about all of those things as I'm typing this, but also as a human, I'm thinking, I really hope we find this person alive. And so you put that out there, so you have to toe the line, and then you wait. It's just silence because you have to let everyone do their job. And then days go by, and then days go by. And then statistically, this person is no longer here. And you're mentally prepping yourself to say, I'm going to have to write that we found this person deceased.
Yeah.
Which can be pretty heavy. So just imagine a Saturday, because this typically happens on weekends. A Saturday, it's a beautiful day, your family wants to go out, and your mind is completely somewhere else because I have to write about a deceased family member. Someone's going to have a bad day today. And then you get the call from the officer, and they tell you, we found them. We have to make a call to the family, the next of kin, and then we will notify you. Again, more silence. A lot of people don't understand PIOs go through this.
Yeah.
It's a waiting game, but you're sat with all these thoughts because as a PIO, no one's saying, hey, are you okay? I know this was tough to tell you. You just have to stay in that professional mode. And then when I would get the call, I have to put this information out. And then you have to monitor the comments. So then you see comments saying, oh, well, I loved you, whoever the name is. You were such a great person. You were such a light. And then I think the gut-wrenching part of that is someone tagged the person.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so then you go to their Facebook page.
And I totally do that too.
Absolutely. And not to make it dark, but it's just a part of being a PIO that people don't know.
Yeah.
Is that when it does get dark, you have to stay professional.
Yeah.
You can't go off the deep end and write a super sad message that's going to be disrespectful to the family. You can't be stoic and be disrespectful to the family. And then you have to also make sure you're remembering other audiences. What about the other voters?
Yeah.
That this could happen to. Now you have to change the message and flip it and say, make sure next time you're on a boat, do this, do that. You have to put on so many hats.
Without also blaming the person that has died.
You still have to toe the line. There's so many things that go into your mind just to write a simple Facebook caption.
Right.
5 simple sentences.
I think
it's so complex.
And I think for me, whenever I write something that I put up, even if it's something completely innocent, hey, there's traffic on the Bay Bridge today. I'm already anticipating what the comments will be,
Right,
both
yeah.
positive and negative. I already know how people are going to respond, and I'm already preparing for that ahead of time, especially for things that could be highly critical of the government or our agency, or whatever the situation may be that's going on.
Yeah.
It's a lot of anticipating other people's reactions and then having to react to those reactions with professionalism. There are always going to be negative comments, and it can be hard when it's something particularly egregious, something truly offensive and disgusting, especially related to these emotional cases, that somebody would say something so terrible and you can't respond to it. And there are limitations for how we're able to moderate these comments as well. It's not as simple as just deleting a comment. There's a lot more that goes into that sort of thing.
Yeah. And we're telling these hard stories, and people often forget the people that are telling the stories are residents, or they work, or they
we
do
knew
something
these
in the
people.
county. Yeah. And so, and Beth, this might be even better question for you, but like, sometimes we might have to report on something that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
And then people are yelling at us, and we're like, we get it. But there's nothing I can say to you.
Yes.
So like, how do you do that? I know from the government perspective, there might be a project you like or a project you don't like, and it might go through, it might
or
not.
my family doesn't like, or
Right.
my friends don't like, or they question about. And for me, the first half of my career was public safety. And so the one thing that I found hugely different when I transitioned from just public safety into general county government was that people automatically trusted everything you said for the most part when you were public safety. They wanted to hear your messages. They were scared. There's an emergency. Once you get into government, the first reaction is not, I want to know what to do. It's, I don't trust you. And so that's difficult to get past. That's a hugely different way. I over-prepare. I think I've shared this with Bruce before. Sometimes when I get a little nervous, I over prepare. So if I have something that's going to be tough to put out, or that I don't necessarily like, or makes me a little uncomfortable, or I know it's not going to be received well, I think would be the best, because I don't really have an opinion one way or the other most of the time. But I know it's not going to be received well. I over prepare. I mean, I will go back and find any topic that's ever been discussed in the 23 years that I've worked for the county, and pull meeting notes and pull clips from commissioner meetings, planning commission meetings, memos I can find on the website, and I will have everything in a row. And you'll see this a lot of times when I put something difficult out, that there'll be a ton of links at the bottom so that you can see all of the same things I saw and that I read to come up with this press release, so that you have all the information. So for all my friends in the community groups especially, we love you, Ken Island Happenings. We love you, residents at Ken Island and Centerville. You can do your own research. And so you can take the information that I'm giving you, you can read what I wrote, or you can just look at the links and see the information for yourself and come up to your own conclusion.
Yeah, and read it all the way through.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Not just the opening sentence.
That's my favorite thing. They'll ask a question and say, but what about this? And, a lot of times you can allow your community members to respond on your behalf. I don't even need to necessarily respond. They'll go, that's in sentence number 3.
So I don't want to surprise anyone, but we've been talking for 40 minutes now.
Wow.
And that's what happens when we get some PIOs together that like to talk. And you guys were worried. You were like, what are we going to talk about?
We are professional talkers.
Yeah, we are. So I want to formally say we need to do an episode 2.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
we need to bring you back because there's still so much that we could talk
There
about.
is
I know,
so
I would
much.
love that.
We can talk.
Yeah, we can talk. But before we go, I wanted to just touch on the future of being a PIO. What's that look like? Because we are in an ever-changing world.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We have AI. We have everyone having access to information, whether it's false or true, and people are coming to their own conclusions. How do you see the job of being a public information officer changing and becoming more or less difficult?
Want to take that?
I don't want to touch that.
If I would say I'm not sure. And that's actually something they teach you when you do go to school for being a PIO. If you don't know, you don't know. You don't lie. I don't know. But what I will say is that you have to move with the times. And I use AI to my advantage. There is a website called Grammarly, and they will review your press release. As you know, we look at a press release so long, we start to look at what we think we're reading, but we're
Yes.
reading something totally different. And it reviews it for me. Wonderful. So I will say learn as much as you can about it. If you are trying to be a public information officer, you want to learn as much as you can about this because you never know how much it can influence you with your position. As a PIO, we get different supervisors all the time. And you may have a supervisor that is very AI savvy or they like AI, and you want to make sure you're knowledgeable about how it can help you and how it can hurt you. So I don't know what the future looks. I'm hoping it will assist us rather than replace us. But I will say, as a public information officer, we have a unique talent. We have to be a human when it's time to be human. We have to be professional. We have to know who our audience is. We have to talk to our audiences. We have to tailor. We have to prep our supervisors when they go out and speak. We have to be the spokesperson. We have to be the face. There's so many positions that we have to do. And although technology is advancing, I honestly think as a public information officer, a human is the best.
We add that human component,
Yes.
and it's necessary.
It's very, very necessary.
It's something that can't be replaced by
Absolutely.
AI or replicated by
We can't
AI.
be replaced.
We're here to stay.
Put that press release out.
You think that we make mistakes in the things we put out. Imagine AI.
Absolutely.
You know, coming up with fake things or, you know, not understanding the, there's a lot of context that also goes into the things that we put out. The social context, where are we in society? What are the, the national issues going on related to these topics?
What's the
in our
local
region,
issue?
locally, regionally, in our state, nationwide, across the world? How do people feel about this? Even the idea of government agencies using AI to, create or do work is a controversial opinion right now that, many people fall on opposing sides or maybe somewhere in the middle. But I think I would definitely agree with you. I think that there are tools that we can use, but again, I don't think that it could ever capture the humanistic part of our job and just, how we do what we do.
Absolutely. And I would suggest any future PIOs, as hard as it is, do not become self-reliant on AI because technology fails. We have a snowstorm coming.
Yep.
Who knows what that would do to technology?
Yeah.
What would that do to internet? So you want to make sure you still have those skills to put out a press release to answer inquiries.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. In an emergency, can you do your job without
Absolutely.
technology? If, all the computers went down right now, could you write it out on a piece of paper, write an actual statement? And if the answer is no, without the use of technology, that's something you should self-reflect on.
absolutely.
So cut to the middle of the snowstorm where Caitlin and Lauren on top of their building just yelling with the megaphone.
That is actually a backup technique that they, believe it or not, in any of the trainings, any of the schooling, that's your last resort is actually having a megaphone and driving through
Or knocking on the doors.
and knocking on the doors and posting things on a bulletin board, printing something out, and putting
Using
it on.
radio. There's so
Yeah.
many aspects to reach the person, but you just never want to be self-reliant on technology.
No.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, I think what is at the end of the day, it's the tools change. But the job is still the same. It's just different tools that we use as time progresses.
Yep.
And our tool today was a podcast and technology, so we do appreciate it sometimes.
None of this recorded.
We failed. It's all done. So this was our baby from the beginning. We knew we wanted to bring you both on. Beth, what do you think? This was our PIO episode. We were excited for this one.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I hope everybody finds it as exciting as we do.
Yeah, we're nerds. We're
We'll send it to the
communication
PIO
nerds.
groups.
Yeah, that's right. They'll love it. Caitlin, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We can't wait to see you back. We're going to have fun again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Until the next time, this was The Open Agenda, and we hope you learned a little something about government and communication today.
Absolutely.
Lights on, mic check. What's happening with QAC next? Go behind the scenes with Bruce and Beth. The conversation shaping the county's future. This is The Open Agenda.